Empowerment Show aims to equip individuals with the necessary tools, knowledge, and confidence to make informed decisions and take control of their lives. It also focuses on ensuring access to essential resources and the opportunities.
You know, I like to say good evening, but it's still morning. So for all the people that are out there, and we're going to start this morning off right. This is the Empowerment Show, and my name is KENDALL Stevenson, and I am the host. Now, always we start the show off by saying or trying to find things that we need to be grateful for. Actually, we should be grateful for everything. Every morning when you get up and take that breath, you should be grateful for that. But today I wanted to let somebody know that I am so grateful for my grandchildren. I was just reminded that I have so many and I should be so proud the way I express and say it. But yeah, they can cost a penny or two. But I am very, very grateful for my grandchildren. Today I got a brother that's gonna come back on, and he was on the show once before, and I'm gonna tell you, the show was absolutely an excellent show. So I'm gonna see if I can bring him on if he's nearby somewhere. You know, this guy. Oh, hold on now. Is that him at the door? It might be. Let me check him out. Boom. Hey, what's going on, brother? Nice to see you.
Mr. KENDALL Stevenson, how are you, man?
I'm
How are you
doing pretty well, man. I'm doing all right. I got to talk about my grandkids, and I guess you got an opportunity to see my wife
Yeah.
at a younger age.
I got to see you at a younger age.
Hey, how about
with
that, man?
With the locks. Would you say
With the
down
locks,
to your behind?
Yeah, they were all the way down there, man. I loved it back then in the day. I tell you, like I was telling the young people, look at me today, and I talk to them about locks, and they're like, "Huh? Really? What do you know about locks?" Okay, everything is.
You know, I think when you mentioned that, I had to make the observation that at certain ages in our youth, when we're young, we seem to believe that we know everything that's needed about how to live in life and this, that, or the other. It's just amazing. The older you get, and I think the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. You know,
well, that's the thing, is that I always tell people the man that knows everything knows absolutely nothing. But as we do age, we start to accumulate knowledge. And I mean to say that, like, as I got older, when I was younger, the things that I thought about and the things that I thought that I knew actually wasn't the truth. Like I celebrate Kwanzaa. I truly don't. I don't celebrate any pagan holidays. Now, way back in the day, I didn't realize that they were pagan holidays, and I went along to go along like everyone else. And instead of utilizing my own thoughts or the knowledge that I didn't have the knowledge, but once I did receive the knowledge, I stopped celebrating those certain holidays and started realizing that we need to celebrate holidays for people that look like us.
You know, you make a strong point when you learned. You know, we talk about, I think one of the signature things in life is the acquisition of knowledge. One of the purposes of going through this experience, this phenomenon we call life, is acquisition of knowledge. And when you look deeper, some of the things you find are just so powerful, and how they can increase your awareness and the way you view the world and the way you operate in the world. You know, one of the big things for me is racism. I told you during our last show that I studied psychology at a time when the people that I looked up to for information and knowledge said, "Oh, study architecture or engineering or technology." You know, but for me, psychology is a technology of the mind, and I look at the ways in which racism operates. You know, and we are so thoroughly saturated in a racist society, honestly, that we think that it's always been like this. And the fact of the matter is that the concept of different human races is a very recent development in the course of human history. It's only about 400 to 500 years old. You hear that? And before that time, people from the African continent contributed to the world's trade and culture and art and technology and science to an incredible extent. You dig? And I got to share this with you before I forget it. A lot of times you will hear Europeans say that Egyptians were white.
Ah,
Well, here's the definitive stop to that. There was this brother. He was a anthropologist from Senegal. His name was Sheikh Anta Diop. He did his doctoral dissertation, I think, in 1954, before some big elite European, awarding of degrees educational institution. And his thesis was based on him having collected skin samples of the pharaohs. He had been allowed to collect skin samples from the mummies of pharaohs, and he examined them for melanin density. You hear? And the density in those skin samples was exactly the same as it was for what the people from the nations that we now call sub-Saharan Africa. They were the same. They had the same amounts of melanin as people like me and you. You hear? No doubt. So, and that ends all argument about that, in my estimation. But they insist. You notice how all the statues have the noses broken off.
yeah, that was on purpose.
But
I think the Greeks did that. I think that must have been Alexander the Great when he's sliding through Egypt doing his dirty or doing his due diligence.
I've heard both ways about Egypt, about the Greeks. A lot of Greeks spent time in Egypt. Okay, a lot of them. And initially they were, from what I understand, generous in their acknowledgement, of the contribution of Africans to science and knowledge. In fact, Pythagoras never named his theorem the Pythagorean theorem. It was named for him long after he had passed. And Pythagoras spent 25 years studying in Egypt. And he adopted something he brought back to Greece, something called the Egyptian rope method, where they would go out into the desert, put a stick deep into the sand, and when that stick cast no shadow, they knew that the sun was directly overhead. And in time,
is this a way of telling time? Was this for them a way of telling time?
What they did, they triangulated. They tied a string around that stick and marked off a circle. So when the sun is directly overhead, that's point A. The stick in the ground is point B. And the point on that circle traced in the sand was point C. So you had a triangle, perfect triangle. And that's essentially how the Pythagorean theorem came about. I don't remember specifics, something about two sides equaling the opposite side and all of that. But
well, that's the theory. Isn't that the theory?
Yeah, that's it. But, there's so much that we are just not aware of regarding ourselves. And I hate to just run on, but sometimes my mind just runs away with me.
I understand that a lot of things that we have within our history, within our own history, a lot of things have been whitewashed. They have been altered. They have been changed. Africa, the colonization that started in Africa long before we got here to America. You had the influence from the Muslims or Islam. Then you had the influence from the Christian. And they came in kind of on one side or the other. So those African people that were in the middle, they went either one way or the other. And a lot of what was there was lost.
True, or hidden. You hear, or hidden. And even in that attempt to hide or lose continues today, because you look at what this man that occupies the White House is doing presently, and he's trying to reduce or eliminate the Black History Museum at the Smithsonian. He wants that done away with. He wants it closed down. And in doing that, you hear the people that say, just get over slavery. We don't need to be reminded of that. It makes them uncomfortable. Growth takes place in discomfort. So they're not willing to grow. But that again,
I don't mean to cut you off, but here it is. You ever hear them tell that to the Jews? Let's just forget about the Holocaust. Come on, I'm tired of hearing about it. You guys were victims, and we don't want to go down that road anymore. I don't hear them tell that to the Jews. And here it is. How long was this Holocaust?
Yeah, and how many people died?
1945, something like that. A mist of 10 years. With us, we're talking hundreds of years of brutality.
Right. And millions and millions of lives destroyed, taken. King Leopold, the Belgian dude, killing 20 million people in Congo for, there. But see, this is what continues. They hide that atrocity. Many people don't know about him. This is what Trump is trying to do, is shutting down the Smithsonian, because one of the major exhibits is the one on lynchings. And it's like you don't want to look at your grotesque, inhumane, almost demonic behavior. You hear? And the elements that contributed to those atrocities back then, those lynchings, those horrible, traumatic, toxic behaviors, the elements that had those, that engaged in those behaviors, are still alive in American society today. And by erasing that history, it makes it easier for them to do it again. That's how I see it. So I'm hoping that we can stand up and stand strong and keep that museum open.
I tell you something, they have not only erased it, they've changed it, they've altered it. They've just lied about so many things. And I mean, when I start to study about what's going on as far as inventions and stuff, the inventors, just in this country alone, I mean, worldwide, we brought science, we brought math, we introduced a lot of things to the world. But just here in America, we have invented so many things. If they took away all the things that Black people have invented, we would literally be in the dark.
Be in sad shape.
We'd be in the dark.
That's
we would literally be in the dark.
Lewis Latimer.
Mm-hmm.
He the one
Lewis Latimer.
The filament.
Right. But here it is, even also with flying. They keep giving the Wright brothers, well, they were the first one that flew. No, it was a guy named, what's his name? Henry, I believe his last name was. And he actually had a plane. He flew it, and they put it on a train car. Was supposed to be going to St. Louis for an exhibition.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the plane disappeared.
Of course.
Okay. Now, this is before the Wright brothers.
Wow. See, now you taught me something. I wasn't aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty powerful, man. And I'm gonna trade things with you, because knowing what we are. There's my friend Gail Sharp. I never forget it. She says there's nothing more beautiful than Black people who know who they are. You dig? And I'm going to say one thing. This guy, there's a guy named Philip Emeagwali, born in Nigeria, educated in the U.S. Philip Emeagwali. He is a mathematician who developed the mathematical formula to allow millions of computers to communicate simultaneously. Okay? He developed that formula on his own. It allows millions of computers to communicate simultaneously. He is the true father of the internet. As a Black man, looks just like me and you. You
ever heard of a cat named Granville T. Woods?
Yes.
That brother had a patent for this thing. It was known as multiplexing. So when I talk about the grandfather of telecommunications, if you want to say, he would be it, because none of the things that we do would be possible without multiplexing. You have to be able to do that. And what's his name? Marconi, and what's the other one? Alexander Graham Bell. They took a lot of credit for it, but they wouldn't be able to do what they did without multiplexing.
I know that.
Okay? So I talked to this cat. I talk about this cat, Granville T. Woods. And this brother was, oh my God, the things that this man have introduced to this country and brought into this country and invented into. When they say Bill Gates, they should say his name too.
Oh, but but we know why they don't.
Yeah.
You know, the narrative of racism demands that we are stupid,
Mm-hmm.
um, that we are sex driven. You know, someone we're robbers. We have no morals. And in my estimation, in all honesty, what I've noticed is that there's this thing in psychology that they call projection, where
Mm-hmm.
you say about other people the uncomfortable things that are true about you.
Oh, you mean Donald Trump?
Well, yes, this is you know, and I mean, some of these are just my speculation, my observations, or whatever. But for one, uh, they talk about us being stupid. So what happens socially? A lot of us um, spend a lot of our effort, a lot of our time trying to prove that we're not what they say we are,
Mm-hmm.
and that in itself is a distraction. We're still dancing to their tune, trying to prove to them we're concerned with what they think. So we're trying to prove to them what we are, that we're not that way, that you believe us. And it don't matter because it don't change nothing.
Mm-mm.
You hear? And I'm thinking that we need to begin to turn our attention inward and look at just being what we are. Just being what we are. You hear?
Look, now,
Amongst the
some people may get in my case, or they may say that I'm wrong. I mean, hey, everything is subjective, right? So integration, I yes, I'm kind of on the fence with this integration thing, and I'm only that way because what do we get out of integration? The only thing we got out of integration is that we became more segregated amongst ourselves. That was one. Then the other thing is those people that wanted to emulate, they got that opportunity. But why would I want to move into a neighborhood where they don't want me? They want to burn down my house and burn crosses in front of my yard. I mean, think about the mindset of someone who wants to move into that area. Why do I want to go to a school that's going to make sure that my education is inadequate? That I'm not going to get the proper education that I've been receiving, because when we were so-called segregated, we had our own buildings, we had our own stores, we had our own communities. We circulated money throughout the community. So once you circulate money throughout the community, it's only going to grow. So when integration came around, hey, I can go to Macy's, I can go to Gimbals, I can go over, and that's where the money went instead of staying within our own community. It just seems different to me. I look at the people back from the 1950s, 1960s. I guess that's my time period, telling my age, right? But I just look at the mindset of the people back then. They didn't tell their children college is not for everyone. I didn't hear that back then. When I was growing up, it was like, you're going to go to college, you're going to go to school. Now, school, you don't want that to get in the way of education. So that's where we got messed up around, because we started going to their schools and we started losing out on the proper education that we should have been receiving. They didn't want to teach us about self, and what they did teach. When I was growing up, I used to hear the kids talk about, they would call each other the booty scratcher. Remember that?
No, that's a
Oh
Brooklyn
yeah,
thing.
yeah. When they say, you're so
I ain't heard
black,
that
you're a
in
booty
Harlem.
scratcher. Go back to the African hunt, and these were African American kids.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you got African American kids even to today's time. They have these little tests, if you want to say. So
Hmm.
they would put a black kid, a white kid, put them in a room, and they take these dolls, white doll, black doll. So they would say something like, well, which one is the bad doll? They would tell that to the black
Hmm.
person.
Right.
They point to
I
the
forget
black
the
doll.
doctor's name. Clark. Dr.
Yeah,
Clark
yeah.
did that.
But they,
Yeah.
they redid it again in the 2000s to see how it
Did
would
it
work
every 10
again.
years.
Yeah, yeah. So now they looked at the black kid and they said, well, who was the bad one? He pointed to the black one. They said, who was the ugly one? He pointed to the black one. They said, who was the dumb one? He pointed to the black one. And then when he was asked, why did he say these things? He said, because he's black.
Yeah.
So still in today's mindset, white is pure as a
Right.
driven snow, and black is bad, like the black cat.
Well, here's the thing with that. In those initial, that's the black doll, white doll experiment. The
Mm-hmm.
thing is the powerful part of that, if you ever watch any of those films, is when they ask those children, which is the doll that looks like you? Which
Mm.
doll is you? And that's when you see the crush. And that's when you see the beginning of that self-hate. Okay, because you said, wait a minute, I'm smart. Wait a minute, I'm good. You know,
Sorry
I'm
about
not a
that. My
bad
wife
person.
is trying to get in contact with me.
I sent mine upstairs. So.
Oh, did you? Oh, I hear you, boss. Now
but
mine
but
is at work, and she was trying to
don't
get. Oh, here she go again. I better answer this here, brother.
go ahead, man. Do what you got to do.
Continue on what you're speaking about.
I lost my train of thought. But doll, self-hate. Um, we try to fight against it, and one of the ways in which we have fought against that self-hate is just going back to that experiment: black dog, white dog, which one looks like you? And you say, wait a minute, I'm not stupid. I'm smart. I'm good. So I must be white. So then we try to assimilate or be embraced by that component of our society. And that's what I think happens to people like, well, you know the ones I'm talking about, the Supreme Court guy and Ben Harris and, all of those, what's their name? I don't remember their names, to be honest with you, Tim Scott. Um, I think that's part of the process. But Kendall said something earlier that I wanted to refer to. He spoke about the success when we were segregated. I'm going back to some of the things you said
All right.
earlier. You talked about being segregated and how we managed to have our own, and we bought from our own stores. And yes, the more times money circulates in a community, the more affluent that community. And we have had successes. You heard me say this in the last time we talked. And they always act to destroy those successes. Okay. And here's the deal. You talk about this businesses and black businesses and circulating dollars. I am very much interested in re-energizing the local branch of the NAACP. And I'll tell you why. If unity is our strength, and you are aware of what is transpiring in our society today, you will agree that it is a time to be unified. And the NAACP offers a structure, support, resources, a history, a name that allows for us to be unified quickly. It's expedient. And I'm hoping to have a meeting on Saturday, the 24th of January at the Hughes Library. And
Okay.
if you think that if the things that we talk about here make sense to you, we ask you to come and join us, okay, at the Hughes Library on the 24th of January at 3 p.m.
And for those that don't know where the library is located at, that would be in Stroudsburg. Some people would say 9th Street or 611, but it's real easy to find. You go to
Right
Stroudsburg,
next to
go to
the mall. Yep,
611,
across from I think
and
the
if that's too difficult, we have Google. You can
mm-hmm.
always use the GPS. But I'm gonna tell you something. I'm along the lines more of Fred Hampton when we talk about unity.
That's my man.
Yeah, well, I like the type of unity that he went out and he talked to the rednecks, if you want to say. He talked to the common people. There was a brother that was on the radio. His name Joe Madison. You ever heard of that?
No, I can't say that I have.
Joe Madison, hell of a man, activist. He was a broadcaster. That's my mentor, if you want to say. That's the guy I look up to, and that I've watched and listened to over the years. And not that I emulate him, but I like what he did. So one of the things that he would say is, you gotta put it where the goats, GAOT, where the goats can get it. You get me? So when you put out information, the goats, they get way down there in the grass and they right down there, way down there. So when we get this information out, we gotta put this information out where everybody can understand it.
I
Right.
hear you,
So
man.
what I want is more like a Fred Hampton. We all need to come together and unify, because black, white, Chinese, all of that stuff is a construct anyway.
Mm-hmm.
In where we live at right now, Monroe County, that's kind of like our little tribe here. So right here in Monroe County, we really do need to unify in order for us to grow as a community. Since we're all thrown into the one pot now anyway,
Mm-hmm.
we really got to start coming together as one people, one unit, and start moving. Because I'm tired of paying these damn property taxes, man.
Well, there's two things that in my estimation, white people are catching some of the same hell that black people have been catching for decades, but they don't even know it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you spoke about solidarity. Freddie Hampton said, you don't fight racism with racism. You fight racism with solidarity. I
Mm-hmm.
believe in black power for black people, white power for white people, red power for red people. It's about power to the people. But in my estimation, I think black people, we have to learn to stand together and we have to become solid within ourselves before we engage others in that mutual solidarity. That's just my little thought.
So this is what I would say to that. When we get to the point where we could stop saying, I'm black, I'm African American, when we can get to the point where we can just say we're one people, then I think we can start doing that unifying thing, coming together as one people. Because right now you got black people that'll tell you, man, I'm not black, I'm African American. Or they'll tell
Well,
you
yeah,
I'm not.
but see, all of those things are distractions.
Yes.
I say black. You ever see that thing Smokey Robinson did on YouTube?
Oh, please. He pissed me
You
off when
know,
I watched that.
what's Smokey Robinson on being black?
Yeah, he
Right.
pissed me off a
I
little bit
love that.
about that.
What pissed you off about it?
Okay, so when he decided that he wanted to say that he was not black, and those people over there in
No, he didn't say
Africa,
he was not black.
yeah, he said those people over there
Then
in
that's
Africa,
not the
they
one I'm
got nothing
talking
to do
about.
with us over here.
That's not the one I'm talking about.
Okay, well, the one that I listened to, he was saying that those people over in Africa, they didn't come over here and try to help us when we were going through struggles.
Well, I'm
So forth
sorry
and
to
so
hear him
on.
say that. I'm sorry to hear him
Yeah.
say that. And you know, there are people who make decisions based in emotion and people who make decisions based in reason. And guess who has a better life? Okay.
The one who does it with reason.
Right. So here you something similar happened in my estimation with they to try to separate with Latinos here in the US. I'm sorry to hear that Smokey said that our native brothers in Africa are not connected to us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that at all. I say I look for connection everywhere.
Me too, brother.
But we had a similar connection. I don't know what it was like in Brooklyn. I think it was pretty similar actually, but I know what it was like growing up in Harlem in the late '60s, early '70s. I was in my teens, early teens, and we shared with Latinos. We shared our soul. They were our brothers. We were playing conga in the park.
Pop out, handball, baby.
Doing all of that, sharing music, sharing food, plantanos and collard greens, they were calling it.
You get out there in the park and with the
And it was cool.
everybody
all
was
of a
all into
sudden,
it.
well, it wasn't even all of a sudden. It was what they used to say, because they, just like that black doll, white doll, everybody is taught to hate black.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody the world over is taught to hate what we are. You hear?
Mm-hmm.
And so even when these people were so close to us, they were still persuaded by, they have a thing in Latinas, en la familia, que si, abuela está diciendo, mejorar la raza.
Mm-hmm.
Grandma's saying, improve the race, marry white.
Yep.
You hear?
And this is why a lot of Spanish speaking people, they don't speak Spanish. Their kids only
I
speak
know
English.
they want to be. Everybody wants to be embraced by the.
Well, who wants to be on the
component.
loser side? That's what I could just say. And and I say that to say is that even black people that were born here in this country, never left this country, about 95% of them, first they say I'm Native American. That's one of them. Then the other one is that I'm Spanish. I come from Santo Domingo. I come from Panama. I come from Cuba. Right? All of these, they want to be everything else, but they don't want to be black.
Of course.
Not realizing that black, we are the global majority. There are more people on this planet that look like us than them.
Then how do we change that conviction? How do we change that perception? That's the question.
Do we call that education?
But
Education.
I'm going to show you one thing. I'm going to tell you, I got to tell you about this. And I'm going to show you how. This was a lecture that I had when I started my school, my English first year in college, English 1, first day. A professor gave a lecture that I will never, ever forget and will always treasure. She said, any character that is not acceptable in modern society will not make it to the end of the film or the end of the novel. She said, if a black man punches a white man, he'll die before the end of the film. If he kills a white man, he'll die before the end of the film. If he kisses a white woman or sees her private parts, he will die before the end of the film. But she went on to say that if he gets out of any difficult situation using his own intelligence, he will die before the end of the film. If he accepts help from a white man, he'll live. You hear? And if he shows any kind of fortitude or character or courage or strength, he will die before the end of the film.
And what I can say to that, you know what I can say to that? And here comes Jim Brown.
Yes.
Because he wasn't playing that. He wasn't playing none of that.
And Danny Glover did too.
Sidney Poitier.
There's a few, but check it out. Out of the hundreds of thousands of films that are produced, in how many of those heroes at the end of the movie, the guy riding off into the sunset on that bad horse with the pretty woman and the bag of gold looks like me or you? How many times does that happen?
Not often, boss.
You see, this is why Shaft was so important. This is why Superfly was so important.
Man, Superfly, me and Superfly.
Okay. And
after I watched Superfly and I had to break it down, Shaft maybe, yeah. Superfly, not so much. Superfly to me that was the true black exploitation. And when they talk about hypersexual, that was in the movie. Drug dealers, that was all in the movie. As a matter of fact, the movie was based on a drug dealer who supposedly wanted to get out of the drugs, right?
Right.
But even him, he was high yellow with long hair.
Yeah, you're right. I can't deny it. And
all of the women, they got the process. A couple of them have froze. But basically, this was about killing each other, selling drugs, didn't have a problem calling each other by the N-word. That was a common thing.
I can't disagree with you.
In Harlem.
I can't disagree with you.
Bumpy Johnson didn't even do that. Bumpy Johnson was a real gangster, and he wouldn't even do that.
Oh, boy, you're talking
right?
stuff. Yeah.
Come on, right?
I hear
Bumpy
you.
Johnson would not do that.
Listen, man, I don't disagree with you.
Right on.
Part of that film that I refer to is the fact that he applied his intelligence to get out of to walk away at the end. And people, when I say this, they talk and say, "Well, Darryl, what about Black Panther? There you have a black hero at the end." I say, "Well, here's the deal. Take a look at it. Look at the brother who died. He was the brother that was saying, we sitting here with all of this technology and power, and we're being quiet and humble." He said, "No. We're going to take our rightful place in the world with all the stuff we got. We're going to step outside." He died. And he was killed by the brother who said, "No, we're going to sit here quiet and humble and stay with
you know, there's nuances to that, right? So my take on that, just to Black Panther, you know, I love it when we talk because we get to discuss and we get to have your version and my version and probably somebody else has got their version, but I love it. So with the Black Panther, to me, if we had went along with what the bad guy, if you wanted to say, if we went along with his idea, that would make us no different than the white people, because that would only make us conquerors. We would do exactly what the Europeans did. Went from place to place and we would conquer because they had the greater technology. They had the rifles. They had all it. They had all the big weapons, right? The gunpowder. They used that. They invented the weapons. And what did they do? They went from place to place, exerting their power, showing that they were the greatest and the strongest. And that's kind of what this brother wanted to do, right?
Well, I guess, I think you're right, and I didn't look at it that deeply, okay? To me, if Black people are able to exert their influence, the influence that I see them exerting is what we call Ubuntu. It's based in Ubuntu. Mutual care, mutual respect, support, collaboration over competition. The greatest human superpower is working together, interdependence. You hear? And when we can begin to work together, because here's this, it's so essential to human nature. Think about it. If you do something nice for somebody, you do something that's real, and they appreciate it, that makes you feel good. You understand? That's you inside of you telling you how to live and what to do. It's so essential. You hear? But
Mhm.
here's the thing too. Human beings are the only organisms native to the planet Earth that have to pay to live here.
Man, break that down to me.
Let me hear it is. Of all the creatures born on the face of the earth, on this planet, all the organisms, human beings are the only ones that have to pay to live here. Everybody else gets a free ride because nature provides. Okay? We are born into a system that has diminished our ability to provide for ourselves. So we pay others for providing for us what nature gives us freely.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I guess that'd be cool if you want to live in a cave. Because I don't want to go live in
Is
a
that a
cave,
bomb?
baby.
Is that a
You
bomb?
know what I mean? It's all good, but if it comes down to that, I guess I'm just gonna have to pay because I ain't living in no cave, bro. I am
Well,
not
see,
living in no
you know,
eating off the
but
grass,
who
and I
said
am
you
not
had
doing
to?
all of that.
Who said you had to live in a cave?
Well, if I'm living
Or
off the land, if I'm
no?
not
Well, see,
utilizing
well, wait a minute.
technology,
Well, check it out. Everything around you, everything that we have now, comes from the land. So why would it be? You could be. You could still have a duplex. You know, you could still have those things because we would build them for each other. Yeah, we would care for each other enough to provide what's good. You know, and this is something here. Um, Living like that, caring for each other, is called socialism, and we're taught to hate it.
mm,
You hear? You know, we're
that's
taught to.
very true. Why are we taught to hate socialism? Is it because of capitalism? Is that what it
Absolutely,
is? Uh,
absolutely,
I, I
absolutely,
I lived in
absolutely.
Germany for like 3 years. That's a socialist country, right? So I
Pretty
lived there
much,
for 3 years.
yeah, pretty
You know
much.
what you
They
know what
have
I didn't
universal health
see?
care,
Let me
huh?
tell you, this is what I didn't see when I was over there. I didn't see any homeless people. Not one.
No, because they care for each other.
Not
And
one.
you
Not
talk
one person was homeless.
you talk about capitalism. And here's the thing, man. The way of the world, the way of the universe is balance. And capitalism by its very nature is out of balance because the essential element in capitalism is to get more from someone than you give to them.
Mm,
And that leads to greed and I got that difference is called profit. Okay, and it leads to people competing with you or not willing to share. If I give you some of mine, then I have less. You hear? And like I said last time, having more, I have more than you, therefore I'm better than you. You know, that's how we push. That's how we push to isolation, um, and it's not a satisfying way of life. And the proof of that, I gave a presentation on firearms and mental health about two
mm.
weeks ago. And here's just to cut it down quickly. Of all the deaths by firearms in the United States, 58% are suicides.
Hmm.
And you know who's committing suicide? Older white males, usually with some measure of financial success. So, what that tells me is that the lifestyle, and you think this first, who has greater access to wealth and power in America? Nobody has greater access to wealth and power than white males. Nobody. And if they're not satisfied, they're committing suicides in the numbers and rates that they do, they're not satisfied with their own lives.
Mm.
It's
Well,
not the
I
way.
thought money make you happy.
It's not the way. It's not the way. You hear? They're not satisfied with their own lives.
So let me
We
ask you this question. This is the question I've always wanted to ask, and you're probably the person I want to ask it to. Why do they hate us so much? I mean, they got all the money,
Melody, Doctor,
they got
what's her
all the
name?
money, they got
Francis
all the
Welsing.
control, they
Francis
got everything.
Welsing. You know
Mm.
what it is? I told my grandson, I said, they hate us because they love us, but they can't be us.
Mm.
You hear? Francis Welsing called it melanin envy. You dig? And imagine if you see, they teach that they're superior. Alfred Adler, a contemporary of Sigmund Freud, father of psychology, said that superiority complexes are based in inferiority complexes. The people that preach the loudest about white superiority, if you look at it from an analytical Freudian kind of perspective, their own science, they're really inferior. They feel inferior. If you run in a race with somebody and you think you've been telling the world that you're better than them, you're faster, you know you are. You run your race and you win. You don't worry about nothing. If, on the other hand, you suspect or believe that your opponent is better than you, and you've been telling the world that he's not, that you're the better one, you will, and you run that race, you try to knock him off stride, you throw obstacles in his path, you do everything you can to keep him from being his best because you're afraid that his best is better than yours. If they were really if they really believed that they were superior, they would leave us alone. They would leave it. They wouldn't bother with us.
Well, what is that? The three things. What is that? There, the id, the ego, and the super ego. Does that fall into one of those categories?
Yes. Yeah. That's Freud stuff.
Hey, psychology 101. A million years ago.
I mean, listen, I know, but these are some of the observations that I have. These are things that, in all my life and time, considering these things, these are some of the things that I see. It's just crazy, man. You talked about going to school, and going to their schools. And part of the process of being a good Black parent was sending your kid to a private school, to a good school, because you didn't want to have that public school education. I'm sending my kids to a real school. But what we didn't think about was what those children would encounter there. Especially if they were there, like the limit, if there were only 1, 2, or 3 Black kids in the whole school or in the class or whatever, they were under a lot of pressure, and sometimes it may have done a lot more harm than we had ever wished it would have. But excuse me, that gets on to.
And I tell you what else happened during that time period. A lot of the Black teachers that were very good teachers, some of them were professors and so forth. They were teaching younger kids. They lost their jobs. They got ousted during that integration time, and they were replaced by white teachers, primarily female white teachers. So this is now we got white people trying to teach Black people. It just doesn't work because what are you going to teach you? You can't teach them how about themselves.
They teach you how to fit into their society in the way they
emulate.
Want you to. That's it. That's all it is. And that professor that gave me that lecture, I never got to thank her. See, that was an educator. I never got to thank her. That happened in 1971. You hear? Because I went home for the weekend and I got stabbed. So I got into a little fight.
I ain't do it. Wasn't me.
I know it wasn't you. And so I was out for the rest of the semester and I came back the following year. But I never got to thank that woman, but she was an English teacher at Chaminade, and they played us in football in high school. I went to Hayes and we used to play Chaminade in football. But she was, to me, I'll always treasure her. She was a pretty cool lady.
I don't have too many teachers like that I know about anymore. Most of the teachers I had were garbage. A lot of the learning and teaching that I did later on in life, and that was after I learned how to read. I already discussed that to you.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you, man. I said this to you before, and I want to say it again. That is self-determination, and that's the spirit. That's the essential part of being a human that carries people forward, is facing discomfort, facing what is not easy, but life is not supposed to be easy. Life is not supposed to be easy. You're supposed to go through, I want to curse here, you're supposed to go through hard stuff, and come out the other side and look back and say, yo, I did that. I'm all right. I'm enough. I did that. It wasn't that hard. And that gives you an inner confidence. That gives you personal power. You hear? And when you go through power that way, when you acquire your power that way, you develop this faith in yourself. You develop self-confidence. You develop
Arrogance.
the right. You feel that you can make things happen, and that's
Hmm.
a healthy, strong, good damn thing. So, uh, you got to go through hard stuff. You hear? Um,
Somebody once told me that before, and I listened to him. Like I said, I listened to him. I don't know if I believe it or not. Personally, I don't think you have to go through hard times in order to be great or to be good.
but Kendall, you did it when
I
you
mean, but that
taught
was me.
yourself
I had
when
to
you
go
taught
through hard
yourself
times.
when you
Right.
taught
I
when you
went through
taught.
hard time, but I don't think everybody has to in order
Well,
to reach a certain
Here's the
point.
thing. You taught yourself to read.
Right.
That was not easy.
Nope.
That's the kind of hard I'm talking about. That was your decision to go through something difficult in order to make you better because you knew what lied at the end, the result of it would be good for you. So you
Mm,
endured it. That's what I'm referring to.
right on.
Those are the difficulties,
I look at it. I look at it like this: will, drive, and determination.
Well,
And those are
yeah, yeah.
those are my three things that I like to hang on to. Is that you got to have the will, you got to have the drive, and you got to have determination.
You push
E-
forward.
Everything else will come along, but you got to have that. Now, everybody doesn't need that. Some people are born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Some people are.
But you know what happens to
Mm,
them?
mm,
If they're born with that silver spoon, if they're born and power is given to them, they don't develop their own personal power.
mm.
Okay. They always look for reinforcement from outside. It's not, nothing comes from inside. Okay. Because they were given it. And I think on some level, they even resent people with personal power. You know, you look at Donald Trump, his power came that way, silver spoon. And when you're given power like that, you don't respect power.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Well, he
you,
has no respect for anybody. Period. That's
well,
about it.
and I got to tell you this too, as we talk about him, there's this thing called, I forget what is it? There's a memo, security memo, National Security Presidential Memo number 7. And when you talk about negatively about capitalism, it is considered indication of political violence.
Mm.
And I'm not sure if that can result in some kind of detainment or whatever. But the observations that, people make about capitalism being a negative element in society, having a negative impact, can now generate you some aggravation with the law.
Mm, mm.
Just be aware. Oh, anyway.
Well,
Uh,
what happened to freedom of speech, man? That went
oh,
out the window too, huh?
didn't you hear that thing Trump said? We ended freedom of speech. I heard him.
Yeah,
I
we
saw a
gave up. You
headline.
know what we did?
I
We
saw the
we gave up.
headline.
We gave up our freedoms. A lot of them voted, as you said it, with their emotions. So we gave up our freedoms for what we call security. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. We got to get rid of the immigrants. They're destroying us. They're raping us. So a lot of these people, they voted for Trump based on an emotion, not based on reasoning.
Well, yeah, absolutely,
Hmm.
man.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna tell you this: many people are not aware of it, but um, he's enacting Project 2025.
Hmm.
Okay, Project 2025 called for laying off, getting rid of the Department of Education. Okay, it talked about reducing the federal workforce, and people don't realize that Black people were targeted because Blacks are overrepresented in the federal workforce. At least they were, because we couldn't go out. The companies weren't hiring us, and in our own communities, you heard them say, "Go get that government job, get a government job," right? You hear? And so people saw it work in the federal government. That's why DEI came about, affirmative action, because the corporations weren't hiring us. So when he laid off with Doge and Musk, when he laid off huge numbers of federal workers, we got impacted. I mean, adversely. Um, so we just got to do our own. We got to create our own.
Oh, this has been a plan that's been going on for a minute or two. Some people may say conspiracy, whatever, but I look at it like this, man. We became integrated. So why that stopped the fight? And a lot of us became complacent. Why? Because we were able to get those government jobs.
We had some advancement, yes.
Brother, don't you remember when they declared the civil rights down there, right down by the state building on 125th
25th
Street?
Street.
My man, they came out and they were giving out applications. Here. And the
Yo,
people that were out protesting stopped protesting. And they went
I
and got
got to
those applications.
listen. But here's the thing: all those protests did generate some positive changes for us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I went to college for free. Pow! You hear? I went to college for free, and got kicked out. you know, uh, Came back and finished my education, and came back and getting kicked out was one of the best things that ever happened to me. It made me really appreciate that I had the only option that I had for a great life was to be back in that school. You hear? Um, and I went back and knocked it out. But like you heard me say it before, each of us goes through life in our own way and at our own speed. You know, your path is your path. Live it, follow it, uh, do the best you can. I think that's about it, man. Do the best you can.
Or
You
at least
dig?
be the best you can, right? I'm here.
Yeah.
I haven't disappeared on you, brother. I just like to let people see your face so they know who you're talking to.
Uh,
You're out
man,
there in the forefront, and that's what they see, and it addresses the audience. It's not that I'm trying to disappear on you, just that we do have an audience in front of us, and people do watch. So I like them to see your face when you're speaking, so you can address them directly. It makes it easier.
well,
Makes it.
I tell you, Kendall, I appreciate being on your show. Um, I appreciate the opportunity to share some of the observations and thoughts that I have. I don't think that I'm alone in some of the things that I think. Um, I speak about them. I want to write about them, but I'm trying to live the best life that I can. Plain
Mm-hmm.
and simple, man. There's in psychology. There's Erickson, two of them actually, and one of them has this thing he calls stages of life and blah blah blah, and they're contrasting. And at the end of your life is called you face your ultimate demise with integrity or despair. We all face the demise at some point as we get older, and if you live your life um, and you come to that point in time and you say, man, like I messed up. I didn't do all the things I could have done this or I should have done that. And um, I wasted it.
Mm.
That's when you face your demise with despair. Don't be that guy.
Yeah, I'm not that guy, boss.
Don't
I've
be
done
that
so many
person.
things in my life, my
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I done been involved in so many different things in my life. Now I'm not that guy, man.
No,
Not that guy
you
at all. But you know what I do want to see? I want to see what's happening with the NAACP. We doing anything? We
yeah,
got you in
I'm
there?
gonna
Are
have
you
to.
in there?
I'm calling for me. Anybody interested? The 24th of January is a Saturday at 3 p.m. at the Hughes Library. Let's try and do it. Let's see what's up, man. You know, um, I would love to make some things happen. I talk about finance. I want to talk about how we can become stronger economically, how we can become stronger educationally.
Hmm.
You know, um, and just overall in terms of caring for each other, in terms of physical health and everything.
Now you
Uh,
said that's going to be on the 24th, right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to make sure that this network is there.
Well, man, I appreciate it.
So
You
maybe we
know,
can come down and we can actually record your session live. Put you out
okay.
there now.
Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends. Anybody interested in um, being unified, we ask that you join us. Plain and simple.
Well,
Plain and simple, man. And I appreciate the shout out too, man.
right on, brother. All right, so we're just about at the end of the show. We do about we do about a half an hour. We don't roll all the way into an hour, but it's all good,
Okay.
man, because the brother's got a lot of good information to put out. But as again, we're gonna end this show. And my name is Kendall Stevenson, and I am the host of the show. And thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you tune in again. Don't forget Mondays. We have Mental Health Mondays with Hope. Please tune in on Wednesday. We got Jeannie, and she's all about her business. Now she gets into financial literacy, she gets into entrepreneurship, and that would be with the Latin Next Business Group, I believe it's called. But she has it down packed. But again, she gets into financial literacy and she gets into entrepreneurship. So those are 2 shows you guys want to check out. Hopefully you enjoy them. If you like, please hit the like and subscribe button. Again, my name is Kendall Stevenson, and peace, as my man would say, Hotep. Peace.